Tadi saya bicara dengan beliau. Beliau telah memberi hibah ke Indonesia senilai 159 juta dolar. Di kesehatan 119 juta. Pertanian 5 juta, teknologi 5 juta, bantuan sosial lainnya lintas sektor totalnya lebih dari 28 juta. Jadi, I told the floor that you have assisted us directly in direct donation, more than 159 million US dollars since 2009, mostly into health, terutama hal-hal strategik seperti vaksin polio. Beliau bantuannya 1,3 triliun, dan sekarang kita Bio Farma salah satu produsen 2 miliar dosis vaksin tiap tahun, dan ini untuk dimanfaatkan 42 negara di seluruh dunia, dipakai oleh 902 juta orang. Jadi hal-hal semacam ini, belum lagi vaksin lain, teknologi mRNA, dan teknologi pembuatan vaksin yang luar biasa. Terutama beliau sedang kembangkan vaksin TBC untuk dunia, tapi Indonesia akan jadi salah satu tempat yang akan diuji coba. Dan kita harus mengetahui bahwa TBC memakan korban kita cukup besar, yang meninggal hampir 100.000 tiap tahun, dan itu tekad kita untuk menurunkan. Dan beliau menunjukkan komitmen beliau untuk terus bantu kita di bidang itu. Juga untuk beliau sedang kembangkan vaksin malaria. So basically I informed them of all your commitment to help us control these very dangerous diseases that are endemic in our country, and the success of the polio vaccine. And we look forward to a breakthrough in the malaria and TBC, which I think will not be too far in the future. Saya kira banyak sekali yang bisa kita bicarakan, tapi untuk mempersingkat, kita buka saja. Maybe we invite you to give us a bit of your ideas, your vision for the future. And tadi saya sudah sampaikan keputusan saya sebagai Presiden Republik Indonesia, karena dukungan beliau, bantuan beliau untuk Indonesia, tapi tidak hanya untuk Indonesia, untuk kepentingan manusia. Saya akan menggelar rapat Dewan Tanda Kehormatan, karena saya ingin atas nama bangsa Indonesia memberi bintang tertinggi kita untuk seorang warga negara asing, karena jasa-jasanya untuk bantu rakyat Indonesia dan rakyat dunia. I just announced that I've decided to convene our council for the national awards, and to award Mr. Bill Gates for his contribution to the Indonesian people and the world humanity, as a mark of his commitment, dedication to humanitarian causes. And we agreed that I will try to do it in September in New York during the United Nations season. So I think this is all of us will be in agreement that you really deserve this for your contribution to the cause of humanity. Thank you very much. I invite you now to... Please.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'm excited to be here and really appreciate the warm welcome the President has given me. It's an exciting week for me. I had a couple days up in Singapore. The Foundation is putting a regional office in there that should allow us to collaborate more closely. The Gates Foundation got started in the year 2000, and so actually it'll be on Thursday after I leave here, I go to New York City, and we'll have a big event to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Foundation and talk about what we've achieved and what our focus will be as we spend the rest of our resources. As you've heard, we mostly work in health, and when I saw that my ownership of Microsoft would be very valuable, I had to ask, what could I do that would have high impact? And I learned about disease and childhood death, and that for many problems like malnutrition or malaria or tuberculosis, there was very little money going into that. The private sector wasn't doing it because the people who were suffering were mostly very poor, and the type of research needed would require lots of money and lots of patience. And so we made global health the biggest thing for the Gates Foundation. Part of that was creating an organization called Gavi, which was funded by us and governments, and has played a role in providing new vaccines to all the children in the world. And in fact, Indonesia is a great example of that because you've adopted new vaccines like rotavirus for diarrhea, pneumococcus for pneumonia. Now HPV is getting rolled out. And Minister Budi is actually on the board of Gavi. He got to know Gavi well during the pandemic when that was a very positive relationship between Gavi and Indonesia. And so we're carrying that forward. The basic statistic that always is amazing to me is that when the Gates Foundation was started in the year 2000, 10 million children under the age of 5 died that year. And most of that was because of diarrhea, pneumonia, malaria, or a few things that make children vulnerable in their first 30 days. 90% of the deaths were in one of those 4 categories, and so we committed that we would study those, create new tools, including vaccines, and help get them delivered. And so, in fact, the number of children who die under 5 has been cut in half. It's now below 5 million. Now, that's 5 million too many. And actually, in this region, including in Indonesia, that cut in half is true here as well. So it's been an amazing time period, and there's many new tools coming. We need a tuberculosis vaccine, and in fact, the trials for a tuberculosis vaccine have started, including with the strong relationship here in Indonesia. We have 2 of the sites where we're testing that vaccine are here, and that will help us know how well it works, and then that'll be a benefit to the entire world. So we're doing those trials in Africa and India and here. Very excited about that. TB is a great example of a disease that, because the rich countries don't have the disease, it just doesn't get hardly any money for diagnostics or drugs or vaccines. And so that's been one of our big focuses. Lots still to do in health. Indonesia is very serious about malnutrition. And we have a number of proven tools like what we call micronutrient supplement that pregnant mothers can take instead of just taking folic acid and iron. They take a pill that actually has many vitamins in it.
Just launched this year.
Indonesia is one of the first to launch that with the goal to get that to all pregnant women very quickly, and it really makes a big difference. A lot of women have anemia, which is an iron deficiency, and so the foundation has an approach where you can just go in one time and get an infusion, and it fixes the anemia. And so over the next year or two, we'll come up with a plan to roll that out in Indonesia. So a lot still to be done in health, but the innovation pipeline is very strong, including in low-cost medicine. And, of course, as we address infectious disease, where we still have this work to be done, then we also need to start working on heart disease and diabetes and other diseases where the tools will be inexpensive. The only other area to mention that the foundation works in is agriculture, trying to make seeds more productive and understand soils and make fertilizer more appropriate and cheaper. Because, of course, many of the lowest income people in the world are farmers. And so if we can make their crop more reliable, more productive, that's a great thing, including things like chicken and cows, because a lot of the protein and value they get comes from livestock. So it's another area we have good relationships in Indonesia, working on things like banana, where you have a great genetic variety that we can do better on bananas for Indonesia, but also helping avoid some of these diseases. The Gates Foundation loves to encourage philanthropy, I think philanthropy can be a very powerful force. Of course, it's not a substitute for the private sector or business. It's actually quite small compared to those other two, and yet there are things like piloting new ways of doing education or piloting new medical tools where philanthropy can come in and do it in a unique way. And then if it works very well, over time, government will change the educational approach or the health approach. And philanthropy can be a lot of fun. It can be very high impact. We've had collaborations, not just with the government, but also with some of the philanthropists in Indonesia. Dr. Tahir's worked with us over the years, the Tanodo Foundation, the Tahia Foundation, a number of you, and we look forward to expanding that. Philanthropy is growing quite a bit. For example, today in India, about half of the work we do is with philanthropists in India, and it's kind of a perfect combination because we understand the global science very well, and the local philanthropist understands how you communicate, how you work with the government. They can go and see, is it really working, is it not working? And so these collaborations, I'm hopeful that we'll have more of those in the future. Even though there's a lot of challenges in the world today, some of the aid budgets are being cut in the rich countries because of the Ukrainian war and other challenges. I actually am optimistic that even if in the short run, in some parts of the world, particularly Africa, that the death rate may actually go back up a bit. If we take a longer time frame, look at the next 20 years, I think we can achieve a lot. We can finish polio. That was ever eradicated with smallpox, and so polio would be the second major disease. We're very close to doing that. And once we finish polio, we'd like to try and eradicate measles and malaria as well. We have some new tools for that. And of course, part of my optimism about the innovation is because we have now artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, I can't state strongly enough how amazing this tool is, even in the last 6 months. The improvement, I know Satya Nadella from Microsoft was here last year talking about data centers and working with the government on some of those things. But the AI is going to help us discover new tools, and even in the delivery of health and education and agriculture advice, we'll be using AI. So, I've really enjoyed the philanthropy work, and I look forward to doing more. And again, thanks for the incredibly warm welcome that the President has provided for me. Thank you.
Mungkin ada yang mau menyampaikan pandangan atau pertanyaan, saya persilakan. Silakan.
Terima kasih Bapak Presiden. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Gate, for your contribution to Indonesia and also to the world. Under the direction of Bapak Presiden, actually, as a Minister of Investment, and also at the same time, I lead the CEO of Danantara, which is our newly established sovereign wealth fund. And actually, yesterday morning, we had a discussion with your team, because in Danantara, we also setting up the Danantara Trust Fund. And, on the internal discussion, we are committed actually to put 1 to up to 2.5% of our dividend payout ratio. So if you look at the number, actually, every year in the Danantara Trust Fund, we are going to put every year at least $100 million. $100 million. And for the next 5 years, even 5 to 6 years, if we look at the number, actually we will pledge to put up to $1 billion in the Danantara Trust Fund. So there's a potential collaboration with Gates Foundation also, because we are looking also in the same line of industries such as education, health, sanitation, and poverty alleviation. So again, there's potential collaboration, and we look forward get your feedback also on this. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm working with Pak Rosan basically because every year I have a 1 billion rolling over grant for all institutions, and most of them come from the Gates only, like Global Fund, and that is where I learned that in developed country, the philanthropy funding average is 2% of. So the potential in Indonesia with 1.5 trillion GDP is $30 billion per annum. However, many Indonesians would like to give, but the money they give is through Indonesia, but through other countries. Because during COVID, I received a lot of grant from Pak Mukhtar Sinarwijaya, from Tanoto Foundation, but through other countries. The reason is because we don't have a trusted entities, because trust cannot be forced. It has to be earned. So that's why I talked with Pak Rosan, maybe we can establish, copying what Temasek Trust has, creating a Danantara Trust. And I wish Pak Bill, you can sit at the board with Pak Ray Dalio, your friends, because Pak Ray Dalio and Bill Gates also sit at the board of Chinese philanthropic education. Pak Rosan have the ample of money as a catalytic functions, and I believe all of our friends here can contribute also, and you can also help to contribute. And Pak Gates have a systematic management that can help us earning the trust for these people so they can start giving the money to us. Thank you.
Mr. Gates. Would it be possible to talk about non-health issues today?
Certainly.
Thank you. My understanding is that you're very interested and you've invested a lot of money in renewable energy. I've had several meetings with one of your partners, Edward Jung, who is one of your partners, I believe still is one of your partners. So I'd like to know your thoughts about nuclear energy, SMRs. I understand you're in fact investing in Wyoming and nuclear energy, SMRs. You may know that our government is going to embark on a very ambitious nuclear power generation program. The second thing is on nature-based solutions. I'm very much into nature-based solutions and environmental issues. Reforestation basically is my passion, wildlife, and through wildlife, reforestation and restore habitats for wildlife. So I'd like to know what you wanted to do and where you're going with your nuclear and your views on nature-based solutions. Thank you.
Yeah, so, as I started doing the foundation work, it became clear to me that we need low-cost electricity to help countries develop.
CNN Indonesia Breaking News.
Welcome, Mr. Gates. My name is Arini Subianto. I'm from Persada Capital Investama. In fact, I just met with Microsoft last Monday, Microsoft Education, and I asked them what can they do for Indonesian education. I'm primarily working with a few CSRs within my work. And we learned that we really need to address the quality of teaching, because otherwise there's no way for us to increase the quality of education if the teaching faculties are not standard. And I learned from the Microsoft team that you actually have the Copilot AI, which enables self-teaching for a lot of teachers or teaching faculty. And the question that I asked on Monday, which now I'm going to address to you, is there any way that we could actually collaborate more and give more? Because I would like to actually knock on doors, buat bapak-bapak di sini to everyone that's present here, because the government will not be able to do it alone. The private sector needs to actually contribute in eradicating illiteracy and improving the teaching quality. Hence, we can actually achieve higher order thinking. Unfortunately, that is the biggest hurdle that we experience in finding new talent in employment. And I heard Bapak Presiden had pushed for the AI learning and everything. Unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure in terms of the brain capacity to even think properly to create simple tasks. So I wonder if we could actually use your Copilot to be deployed to, around Indonesia, using the hands of CSRs, because there's no way we can do this alone. No way one party can do it alone. Using the tools of everybody's CSRs, as you said, nobody trusts to give money to people they don't know, like Pak Budi had said, and I completely agree with that. So if they know everyone that sits here and actually working for the same cause and the same vision, the basic need that we need is to help our teachers, teaching faculties all over Indonesia, from maybe -10 to become -5, -5 to become 0, and hopefully the more elite education could become more global standard. So it's a very big question, but that's basically the essence. Thank you.
Yeah, so, obviously I think, if you've got two things that help the future of your country, that health and education, would go together. The healthier the kids are, less stunting, malnutrition, the more they can be educated, and then of course the more they're educated, then their economic output allows the government to put more into health, and you get this virtuous cycle. If you look at education statistics in this region, the two exemplars would be Singapore and Vietnam. Singapore is kind of amazing, which is, okay, they're rich and it's partly cultural, but their education outcomes are really amongst the best in the world. Vietnam, for its level of income, is the best in the world. They run, and it's not through the use of technology. I'm a huge believer that, particularly as you get up into high school and college, that having access to these learning tools, these tutoring tools from AI will help. But the key thing that allows a country to be an exemplar is that they train the teachers well and they have very high expectations for the teachers. In some countries, the teachers are so politically strong that asking them to do this, what's called structured pedagogy, sometimes doesn't work well. Our education work is a very small part of the foundation, only about 4%, and most of it's in the US, but we have some partners in India. Ashish Dewan, who's actually board member of the Gates Foundation. And India's a good story because 5 years ago I would have said to you, India is not very serious about education because the measurements, they weren't paying attention. But really in the last 5 years, they're adopting new practices, including structured pedagogy. They're seeing very good improvement from quite a low level. But they're willing to look at the bad statistics and say, oh no. And they have a lot of interstate competition, whereas one state's doing something well, the other states are like, oh no, we have to catch up. So I think they're, even regionally, there's a lot that can be learned. Then you do want to connect into AI. The Gates Foundation funds a group called Khan Academy that does an AI called Khan Amigo. And they've had a few philanthropists, like some in Brazil and some in Mexico, that have gone to them and said, okay, we'll fund bringing that technology to our country. So, that would be a possibility. But, I wish I had enough to do both health and education in a serious way, but we're 90% health. But I'm totally aligned with you that education will be important, and now AI will finally help us with that.
I think because of the time and Mr. Gates' very tight schedule, he has to fly to New York, so I apologize if I cannot give the opportunity to all of you, but at least we have heard the vision of Mr. Bill Gates, and Mr. Bill Gates promised also to sponsor very important events in Bali. First is about malaria, and the second is cervical cancer. Two important international conferences. Most of the important stakeholders around Asia Pacific will be there, and we are talking more and more about how we can interface and cooperate with the Gates Foundation on many critical matters. So I think we thank you, Mr. Bill Gates, for spending some time with us. And once again, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Indonesian people and the government for your commitment and your attention to important issues that we face. And yes, so we would like to acknowledge your great contribution, and also we would like to work together with you in the future. Once again, thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. I look forward to coming up with partnerships in all these different areas. So it's great to be here.
Ya, saya minta maaf yang barisan belum kenalan, saya kira bisa maju ke depan untuk kasih tangan ke beliau. Kapan lagi ketemu Bill Gates? Cepat-cepat. Tukang foto cepat.
This is my gift I brought for all right, Bob. He's famous.
Iya, Bapak di mana?
Karunia yang diberikan oleh Yang Maha Kuasa kepada kita sungguh sangat besar dan sungguh sangat beragam. Namun, tengah segala karunia tersebut, kita pun harus berani untuk menjadi bangsa yang berani, bangsa yang tidak takut tantangan, bangsa yang tidak takut rintangan, bangsa yang tidak takut ancaman.
Yes!
Doomsday, Last Survivors. Play now.
Di Booking.com, kami tidak hanya punya hotel, tapi juga rumah pohon.